Stay tuned. Coming up on this episode, I preview the Task Fixation chapter of my new book, How Smart Workers Use Situational Awareness to Improve Safety. But first, let's pay the bills. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com. Hello and welcome to episode 289 of the Situational Awareness Matters show. I am your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this program is to help to improve situational awareness and high-risk decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-stress, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SAMatters mission is simple. We want to help you see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. I'm coming to you today from my office in St. Paul, Minnesota, having just returned from conducting a situational awareness program for industrial workers at the Safety Plus Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. Today's feature segment is brought to you by SimsUshare. SimsUshare is a simple and affordable way to help you develop and practice situational awareness skills. You can quickly build sims from your photos to simulate almost any kind of incident, including active threat scenarios. And the new SimsUshare Command Training Center now lets you conduct multi-company drills over the internet so you can run drills while your companies stay in station. Check them out at simsushare.com/SAM. All right, let's jump into our feature segment where I preview the Task Fixation chapter of my new book, How Smart Workers Use Situational Awareness to Improve Safety. Task Fixation, the small picture view. Performing hands-on activities typically involves the eyes coordinating what the hands are doing. In lay terms, this might be called focus. Focus allows a worker to concentrate and dedicate all of their attention to the task being performed. This can be a manual task like working with tools and equipment, or it can be an automated activity like monitoring readouts on a computer screen. Any activity where the worker's eyes are focused on a finite spot can cause fixation. When a worker becomes fixated on a task, it is possible they may not see or understand other clues and cues happening around them. Their brain can actually filter out, in other words, stop processing, all of the inputs that are outside their immediate area of focus. When the period of time a worker focuses becomes extensive, they can become task fixated. What determines how long a worker must remain focused on a task before they become fixated? I wish I could tell you there was an absolute answer to this. The truth is, it depends on several factors. First, how quickly are the conditions changing around the worker? This includes understanding and respecting how quickly conditions can change when the normal work environment is relatively static. Second, how risky is the work being performed? Equally important is how much risk does the environment that is outside the worker's immediate area of focus present to their safety. The faster conditions change and the more risk the environment presents, the greater the potential consequence of task fixation. Oftentimes, when a worker becomes task fixated, remaining hyperly focused for long periods of time, They don't realize how long they've been fixated. Recall from an earlier discussion that time distortion is also a barrier to awareness. Fixated workers can lose track of time. They become time distorted. Through first-hand experience, many people know how easy it is to become task fixated on the internet or social media. A person can become so involved in reading content on the internet or reading or engaging with others on social media that they completely lose track of time. When this happens, they may not be paying attention to other things that are happening around them. I find myself in this predicament sometimes when I get on an airplane. I get settled into my seat, and while other passengers are boarding, I go heads down on my phone, answering emails, posting messages on my social media, replying to social media posts from others, and etc. Reading and getting caught up on events and activities of friends is another one of the things that I might accomplish there as well. This can cause me to stop paying attention to the things that are happening around me. This has at times caused me to miss hearing the flight attendant's announcement that the boarding door is now closed and all electronic devices should now be in the airplane mode. But it doesn't stop there. The fixation may also cause me to completely tune out the airline safety briefing. And if there's anyone who should know how important a safety briefing is, it's the situational awareness guy, right? I'm not immune to any of the barriers discussed in this book. I might have a greater understanding for how barriers impact awareness, and I may have more tips, tricks, and hacks in my toolbox for how to develop and maintain situational awareness and how to manage my way through the impacts of flawed awareness. But the same thing that can happen to a worker can also happen to me and you. Fortunately, most of the time when workers become fixated on a task, there is no significant consequence other than perhaps they lose track of time or they become mentally fatigued. This can be both good and bad news. Obviously, fixation without a consequence would be a good thing. But the more a worker can fixate on tasks without a consequential outcome, the more likely they are to repeat the fixation behavior. It is not good to become fixated in high-risk, rapidly changing environments. In fact, I have seen fixation as a causal factor in many significant near-miss and tragic consequence events. But the behavior of fixation can just as often be rewarded with successful outcomes. For example, a worker might think, if I concentrate on this task and only this task and don't allow myself to be distracted by other things happening around me or allow myself to be interrupted by other people, I can get my work done quicker and perhaps with greater accuracy and higher quality. This seems logical in many work circumstances, and it probably is true. Removing distractions and interruptions can certainly improve focus. But when the work environment is dynamically changing and the work has an element of risk, fixation can increase that risk. Periodic physical and mental breaks are not only healthy, they can reduce fatigue and improve awareness. I'm not talking about the 15 to 30 minute breaks that are built into most work environments. I'm talking about 30-second to 1 minute mental breaks. Breaks that allow a worker to disengage from the task, to break their fixation with the task, perhaps supplemented with some mindful breathing techniques. For example, breathing in slowly through your nose while counting to 4, holding your breath for a 4 count, breathing out slowly through your mouth for a 4 count, and stop breathing for a 4 count. This purposeful breathing, sometimes referred to as tactical breathing, is also a great way to reduce stress while improving awareness. Meta-awareness. The term meta-awareness describes a mental process whereby a worker actually pauses and consciously thinks about their awareness. It's sort of a weird way to explain it, but meta-awareness is awareness about awareness. Let me explain. A worker, while focused intentionally on a task in a high-risk environment with changing conditions, should periodically stop and, using their internal voice, known as self-speak, ask themselves these questions. How long have I been focused on this task? What other things are happening around me that I should be aware of? Are there conditions changing around me that I should be aware of? Are there risks or potential risks that I should be mindful of? What has changed since the last time I paid attention to the big picture environment around me? Do I have any concerns I need to address before I focus on my task again? One of my industrial clients was having a problem with workers becoming fixated on their task, and as a result, workers were simply not paying attention to the big picture environment, which was fraught with potential risks for these workers. During a site visit, I wanted to observe the work performed by those with the fixation issue. The workers stand at an assembly line where product is coming down the line at them quickly. Their job is to scan the product, assess that product for defects, and make a quick decision to pull the product off the line if it's defective. The workers have the ability at any time to slow the line down or to stop the line altogether and take a short mental break. But they never do that, mostly for 2 reasons. First, there is a stigma associated with slowing production, and thus the potential for ridicule and consequence. Second, and perhaps even more important than the first reason, the workers receive incentive pay based on how much product they send down the line. If a worker slows or stops the line, they not only impact their own incentive pay, but they also impact the incentive pay of everyone working upstream and downstream in the process, so they don't ever stop or slow down the line. Instead, the workers become extremely fixated on their task for long periods of time and also become mentally fatigued as a secondary consequence of their extended periods of fixation. Their work environment is also very dangerous. The assembly line is very long, and there are many moving parts performing automated processes all along the way. Workers regularly interact with these machines, and their fixation, coupled with a lack of consequence, meaning their history of successful outcomes, have caused some of the workers to become desensitized to the risk in their environment. The priority on this line, and perhaps on a larger scale in this company, is not safety, it's production output. Workers will do and repeat what they are rewarded and recognized for doing. These workers are proud of their production awards, prominently displayed on the walls adjacent to the assembly line. The workers have a boastful disposition when they talked with me about how much money they make for meeting or exceeding their production goals. Concerns for fixation or safety in general didn't seem to be on their minds much. One worker explained it to me this way: "We do dangerous work. You got to pay attention when you're on the line, or you'll find yourself losing a finger in a stamping machine. It happens. And when it does, everyone gets really pissed off because it slows down production and it means we lose our incentive." End quote. When I expressed concern about the worker who had his finger amputated by the machine, their coworker told me this, quote, "He was a dumbass. Everyone knows you don't stick your hand in that part of the machine when it jams without shutting the line down first." End quote. Yet the line never gets shut down. So you know there are workers sticking their hands into places they shouldn't many times each shift to resolve the jamming issues. But every time they do so, they're rewarded with a successful outcome. Well, almost every time. There are several potential solutions to fixation issues. First, and perhaps the most important, is for supervisors, managers, and senior leaders to recognize their production schedules, incentive programs, and expectations for output above safety, explicitly stated or implied, will cause workers to fixate on production. Encouraging workers to take short mental breaks, even if that means momentary scheduled stoppage of the work, can help workers unlock from the task. Couple this with teaching workers about how fixation occurs, the impacts of fixation on safety, and how to develop meta-awareness. Workers should not be penalized for taking momentary breaks. In fact, these short mental breaks should be built into the workflow. Cross-training workers and having them change positions throughout their shift is another way to help reduce fixation and the accompanying fatigue. Many businesses regularly rotate workers through various positions throughout their shift. Water parks routinely rotate lifeguards. Lifeguarding can be a rather boring and routine kind of work, and guards can become complacent and fixated. Changing their scenery and the view of the water park features they guard can reduce boredom and fixation. Casinos also rotate dealers at blackjack tables. The dealers are routinely tapped out and replaced by another dealer. There are perhaps additional reasons why casinos would do this, but it does serve as an example of how giving a worker a change of scenery and a short break can keep them from fixating and making mistakes. Not to mention, the walk between the tables gives them that brief, momentary mental respite. I have also noticed that some fast food restaurants do the same thing. A worker might be on the front counter for a while, then the drive-thru, then fries, then burgers, then stocking, then cleaning tables. Again, the change of scenery and adding variety to the work duties keeps the vigilance up and can help reduce fixation from boredom. Let me share with you one of the scariest moments in my fire service career while working as a paramedic on the ambulance. We responded to the scene of a motor vehicle crash. There were several cars involved, and the vehicle I was assigned to had rolled down an embankment, crushing the roof all the way down to the door sills. There were several critically injured occupants trapped in this vehicle, including a toddler. I was assigned to care for the child, and I remember being frustrated at how long it was taking the rescue crew to cut open the vehicle. There was nothing wrong with their skills or proficiency. It was just a very complicated extrication. Once the vehicle was opened up, I had access to the toddler. He was badly injured, but alive. I vividly remember he was not crying. Some might be fooled into thinking that's good news, but I knew better. Badly injured kids, the really sick ones, they don't cry. They're too scared to even cry, so they're silent. This child was conscious, critically injured, and silent. I knew this was bad news, so I held a pediatric oxygen mask over his face, scooped him into my arms, and started up the hill. I knew we didn't have much time. I knew he didn't have much time. In the world of trauma, there is something called the golden hour. The goal was to have a critical trauma patient assessed, treated, packaged, loaded, and transported to the hospital within 1 hour of the traumatic event. Statistics show that trauma patients who get to the hospital within the golden hour have a higher probability of survival and recovery with fewer long-term deficits. I was acutely aware of this. I was also aware that we had used up about 40 minutes of the golden hour disentangling him from the vehicle, so time was short. I was fixated on my care. I had him cradled in one arm, with his head near my shoulder, and my hands supporting his buttocks. I had the oxygen bottle tucked under my other arm, and was using my other hand to hold the oxygen mask to his face. For so long as I live, I will never forget the look of fear on that little boy's face. And I remember saying to him, "You're going to be okay. I'm going to take good care of you." I got to the top of the hill and made a straight line for the ambulance. The only problem was I had to cross a lane of traffic that still had cars passing by. And while fixated on the care of this toddler, I stepped right in front of a moving car. Luck saved my life. The driver was attentive and saw me in time to swerve and missed me. But it was so close, I can remember feeling the bumper of the car brush my pant leg. The driver wasn't going fast. I'd estimate it maybe at only 5 miles per hour. But if he would have hit me, I would have been thrown and injured, and the toddler in my arms would have suffered another traumatic blow, one that I do not think he would have survived. I never saw that car. I was fixated on my patient. All of my attention was on him. I was looking downward as I cared for him. Luck was on my side that night. You can bet that after that near miss, I was much more vigilant about being fixated on my work and about moving vehicles on roadways. If you're interested in buying the book, it's available on the SAMatters.com website store. It's also available on Amazon. The Situational Awareness Matters show was launched in 2014 with a purpose: to give a platform to those who've had near-miss events to share their stories. When I'm on the road delivering classes on situational awareness, I often ask attendees about near-miss events they've had, and they have shared some amazing stories. These stories motivated me to launch this podcast in the first place, so those lessons could be shared with a bigger audience, you. The Situational Awareness Matters show, podcasted as SAMatters Radio, and our companion video program on the SAMatters TV channel on YouTube, along with other videos we've posted there, have enjoyed more than 800,000 downloads. I am so thankful for your support, and I feel so honored to be able to provide this platform for those amazing stories to be shared. If you like this show, please do me a solid favor. Subscribe. For the audio version of the show, search for SAMatters Radio on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and iHeartRadio. For the video version, subscribe to SAMatters TV on YouTube. If you find value in the show, I would really appreciate it if you would give the show a rating and write a review. Your ratings and reviews help others to find the show, and more importantly, your feedback inspires me to work even harder for you. Since 2007, Situational Awareness Matters instructors have helped more than 1,300 organizations and have trained more than 80,000 individuals to improve high-risk decision-making, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, highway workers, public transportation operators, aviation workers, oil refinery process operators, and more. If you work in a high-risk, high-consequence, decision-making environment, we're here to help to improve your safety and your survival, and to help you accomplish the most important mission of all, and that's to go home to the ones who love you. I'd like to take a moment to honor and thank the companies, organizations, agencies, and departments that have hosted recent situational awareness training for their team members. The Lansing Fire Department in Michigan, the Ingham County Fire Chiefs Association in Michigan, the Coastal Bend Regional Advisory Council in Corpus Christi, Texas, and the Safety Plus Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. I am now in the middle of a 6-week sabbatical from all presentations to do, as Dr. Stephen Covey described in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, to sharpen my saw and focus on my personal development. So I recorded this episode before I left.
I think Rich's ability to connect with any crowd, that's a gift that he has, and it's easily transferable.
This is the second or third time that I've heard him speak. There's some teeth to the information that he brings.
It's been really good. Good mixes. He knows when to throw in a joke here and there to get you back involved.
Some tools. I'm a new lieutenant, so very, very interesting. And some of these things I can take back to the station and use with some of the new firefighters I have on my crew.
Something to get you thinking about your job more, big picture type stuff. I've seen him before. A good review for sure.
I have heard him before, yes. After he speaks, there's usually an enlightenment because now they're more aware of what's going on around them and what they're experiencing as they respond to calls.
He's very, very knowledgeable. I'm enjoying it so far.
And that intuition, that's a big one. The video that you just showed up here, we're getting a lot out of this. I think this is a really good seminar, especially for new people and old. So I think it's very informative. This talk gives us more ammunition to do all three.
They're relatable to what we have experienced or very well could experience, so he makes it easy to let the knowledge sink in.
I mean, it's awesome. A lot of stories you can usually relate to yourself and calls you have been on, aha moment. Like, he just helps you focus on picking out the right things. It's awesome. It's a refresher and keeps my eyes open. It's good stuff.
If people listen to the message that he has, it's an incredible message delivered by a very compassionate person. Strategy and tactics are going to always change. Situational awareness it doesn't change. It's always there.
He's got some good stories to tell, and he's very thorough with his stories, and it's interesting listening to him.
Very clear speaker, and he talks on our level because he's been there, he's been in the trenches. I think he's doing well, and I'm looking forward to the second half.
If you're interested in attending an upcoming event, here's where we're going to be on the horizon once I return back to work. On October 15th, I'll be at the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association Conference in Peoria. On October 19 and 20, I will be at the Clearwater Regional Fire Service in Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. On November 14 through 17, I will be at the International Association of Fire Chiefs Volunteer and Combination Officers Section Symposium in the Sun in Clearwater Beach, Florida. And November 23rd, I'll be at the County of Grand Prairie Fire Services in Grand Prairie, Alberta. If you want to see the locations of all the upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop events, just head over to the SAMatters.com website and scroll down till you see the red tab that says Upcoming Events Schedule. If you're interested in hosting a program, just click on the Contact Us tab on the top of the homepage and I will give you a call. If you want to become part of the SA Matters community of learners, there are several ways you can do that. Check the show notes for how to get connected with us by signing up for our monthly newsletter. It's free. By subscribing to the SA Matters radio podcast. It's free. By subscribing to the SA Matters TV channel on YouTube. It's free. And how to follow us on the social media channels of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. There we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. Well, that's it. Episode 289 of the Situational Awareness Matters show is complete. Thank you to our platinum sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to our feature segment sponsor, SimsUShare. Thank you to our associate sponsor, Chief Miller. And thank you to all the companies, agencies, and organizations and associations that have hosted Situational Awareness Matters training programs. Thank you to all the organizations that have hosted a live stream training program where I come to your organization live via the internet to train your members. Thank you to the more than 3,000 students and graduates of the highly acclaimed Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. The feedback I've received from Academy graduates is just amazing and humbling, and I thank you for that. And most importantly, thank you, the listeners and viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gassaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit SAMatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gassaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgassaway.com.